Welcome to Women's Health Unwrapped with Nicola Farndell, a weekly show dedicated to empowering women to unlock the secrets of true health and vitality. Join us as we unwrap what healthy living really means with guest experts and real-life stories to help you get clear on the power of building sustainable, healthy habits without the overwhelm and confusion you feel right now. It's time to strip back and lay out the truth about why taking better care of yourself is the answer to the happy, vibrant life you're striving so hard to create. Hi and welcome to today's episode of Women's Health Unwrapped. Thanks for joining me for what I'm sure is going to be another fantastic conversation. And I know I say that so much, but we do have a really great guest and topic to talk about today. It's something that I'm personally very interested in finding out more about, because I'm joined by the fabulous Bambi Corso-Steinmeyer, who is the author of the book Dream Tracking, Track Your Dreams and Transform Your Life. And Bambi is a dream expert who helps you to bring conscious awareness to your dreams so that you can live a more passionate, purposeful, authentic, and of course, healthy and happy life. And so we're here to talk about how dreams might be able to help you to live healthier. So welcome to the podcast, Bambi.
Thank you so much, Nicola. I'm so excited to be here with you today.
Yeah, me too. So just to get us started, before we do explore everything dream related, I'd love to know from you what your own most impactful healthy habit is, the thing that, helps you to be healthy and strong.
Oh gosh, well, and there's a handful, but mine is dream related. So part of my healthy habit is first thing in the morning, I get up, I have my coffee next to me, and I start writing down my dreams. And the reason it is a healthy habit for me is it gives me a sense of where I'm at spiritually, physically, emotionally, mentally. It kind of helps me with a processing of my day-to-day life. So I can see where things are out of balance, because dreams really come on behalf of our well-being and of our health. So that's how I start my day, and it's really helpful.
And how many dreams have you tracked? I'm sure I read a number somewhere.
I have over 8,000 dreams, all journaled over the years. I mean, these go way back. I started at a very young age writing down my dreams. I was about 15 years old at the time. So yeah, I have quite the collection.
Oh yeah. And so how long has this morning ritual of tracking your dreams in a journal been part of what you do?
Oh gosh. I think to the extent that I do it now, it's probably been a good 30 years.
Wow. Talk about a habit.
Right? Right. And it becomes that. It just becomes a discipline, and it does become a habit. And, there are certain days where I don't remember anything, but I try to always write down something, even if it's just a waking feeling, because it keeps me in the practice and in the discipline of doing that.
And we know that journaling is so powerful in itself as a habit, isn't it? There's so much now in science that actually proves different benefits it can offer us, including changing our brain. So I think you marrying up the journaling with the dream tracking is a really, really interesting way to journal.
Yeah. Yes, it's really been helpful. And I do both. I have the dream itself, and then the thoughts and the insights that come with it. And so it's interesting. You see the play between the waking world and the dreaming world and how they connect. So the journaling of it really helps us to see that.
So diving into the dreams themselves then, why do you think, or why do you know, because you're the expert in this, why is it that dreams are an insight into our mind and body?
Dreams give us an ability to tap into the subconscious part of ourselves. And so often we're not aware of what exactly is going on, with us. Like, we can have an idea about things about ourselves, but the dreams will bring it up to the forefront of our attention, And of course, the key is not just having the dream, the key is doing something about the dream. So you find these insights and these things that start bubbling up through the subconscious that show up in the imagery in our dreams. And then it's about doing the work related to the dream.
Oh, that's really, intriguing, isn't it? So give me, like, I guess some real life examples. Someone might be listening thinking, this is really unusual. We talk about healthy living and building healthy habits on the podcast. Like, what have you
Yeah.
seen you've worked with lots of people and been in this arena a long time. What have you seen people discover through their dreams and then improve in their health and life?
Yes. Oh gosh, there's so many things. One example, just because we are talking about health, is the ability of dreams to show us when something is out of balance in the body. So many years ago, I had a dream that my doctor came to me and told me that I had breast cancer, and it was a disturbing dream, certainly. And I didn't forget it because it was very specific. There wasn't a lot of other stuff going on in the dream. It was very much like just a conversation. And then a few years later, I felt a lump and I started going to the doctor, and ultimately it was breast cancer. And I, had to deal with that. And there was some part of the dreaming self that knows the state of the body. And I think that as it relates to health, it's important to remember that we're a living organism and we're made up of all of these cells and atoms and everything else, but that all of that is communicating all the time. So even though we think of the body maybe as a little bit separate from the rest of us, like there's the thinking part of us and there's the emotional part, it really is all integrated. And so there is a communication system in our body as an organism that can come to us and diagnose in dreams. So that's one way. And then one of my favorite stories is of a woman that I worked with who she had already 5 children, and she started having these dreams, and they're all, 13 and older. So she started having these dreams about having a baby, but then she would lose the baby, or it was somebody else's baby, or the baby was falling down a hill, or the baby dies. So we started working with it because she was terrified that it actually meant that she was supposed to have another child. That was the fear. She's like, oh my gosh, but I'm in my 40s, I've done this, I don't really want to have more children. So I told her, look, let's just I want you to write down every dream for 2 weeks, and then we'll have another session. So she came back 2 weeks later, and we looked through all of the dreams. And part of what I do with the tracking piece, Nicola, is to look for the patterns or the sequences between dreams. Where is something showing up again? So in her dreams, it was the baby and the different states that the baby was in. It was also taking place in the living room in her home, which of course is interesting, right? This is the living space in her dreams. And so ultimately, the dreams, after we looked through everything, were showing her that she had this new life that she was trying to manifest for herself. She loved photography. She wanted to start spending more time doing photography. And so in working with the dreams and seeing the baby, it was like something kept happening. So she kept, it wasn't getting the attention it needed. She was losing it. It wasn't healthy. It was not even living at certain points. So it gave her the ability to see that some of the way that all the dreams went together, that she was not paying enough attention to that part of herself, what her soul needed. And so she had a family meeting, because as it turns out, none of the kids were helping her do anything around the house. And she had a family meeting and she said, I need your help. Talked to her husband about it, and opened up a whole different dialogue where she was able to then get assistance from the family, and it gave her the free time to do what she loved. And now she's an incredible wildlife photographer. So, something like that, where you have, this kind of information coming through dreams, if you just learn how to work with the imagery and the emotions in dreams, it can literally transform your life.
Mm. Yeah, it's incredible. Two very different examples there. And I think the message is
Hmm.
that the dream isn't necessarily a premonition. It's not that you're
Right.
dreaming something and then it's a premonition that you, in your instance, got breast cancer. It's something that maybe is there that, like you say, our body and brain are connected in the mind, and so it's telling our mind something about what is it's failing, and I guess what in the system is wrong. Is that how it
Hmm.
works?
Yes, and there are times that dreams do have a future telling aspect to
Right.
them sometimes. So
Mm-hmm.
it's really interesting, Nicola, because dreams are they hit it well. They're a multi-dimensional opportunity, and what I mean by that is they can hit us on so many levels, and they can be right on all of the levels at the same time. So it might show me one thing about my day-to-day life. It might also show me the same dream, something about my mindset or my spirituality or my physicality. So it's interesting and good to look at the dreams with the idea of layers within them and how they could all be accurate.
Mm. And are you able to explain the signs of that? Why is it that our brain does this when we're in the state of sleep, and projects this through our dreams?
Mhm. I probably couldn't say scientifically,
Mm-hmm.
but in my experience, I would say that when we go to sleep at night and we enter the dreaming world, we've left the ego part of ourself behind, right? It's not active. So we have this access to all kinds of information. It's just this unlimited arena um, of that we can tap into.
Mm.
So it's, and a lot of this too, Nicola, is just it's beginning to start understanding them for yourself. It's like, I mean, I may speak about them in a deeper way or a multidimensional way, but the first step is always just beginning to write them down and start understanding your own dream language and your own dream symbols as it relates to you.
Mm. I know, like I said, I'm personally interested in this subject, and I do support people with their sleep as well. And I know from doing some studying and research on sleep, there's so much that we don't yet understand about the brain when it's sleeping,
Yeah,
when we are sleeping, and yeah, and that the brain
yeah,
actually is at its most active point during the sleep that we're
right.
having in our body. And it's really fascinating, isn't it, that there's still so much science doesn't understand about sleep and about dreams as well, and so on. And that's why I knew you would know
Yeah.
like the perfect answer, but I wondered what your perspective was on that. And I guess linking to that is, why is it then some people remember dreams and some people say they don't? And I've put it that way because from what I understand, we all dream, but some of
Right,
us do remember them while others don't, because dreaming
right.
is part of that process our brain goes through to clean up to, as you're explaining, manage this interconnectedness with our body.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I think that there are certain people who just seem to be dreamers. It's something that as a child they started remembering their dreams and it carries over. It sounds like you're one of those people because you remember so many of your dreams.
Mm,
So but it is true that everybody dreams every night. And so a lot of dream recall is based on just training ourselves to remember the dream. And there are steps that we can take to do that, but intention is the first one. Or we have to see that there's a benefit in working with the dreams and writing down the dreams, because then we're much more likely to start remembering them. I think that a lot of people's dream recall is very low, probably because they maybe haven't found it helpful. They don't understand what it can do to benefit their life. So, a lot of people disregard dreams as these silly, bizarre scenarios that play out at night and they don't really mean anything. When in fact, the opposite is very true. Again, once you start understanding the language of dreams. So, yes, the recall piece is part of it's just like a mindfulness practice, really, Nicola. If you're going to do yoga or you're going to do meditation, it's a practice. So you dedicate time every day to it and you do
mm,
your stretching or you do your meditating, dream work is the same thing. You spend your time doing a little bit of writing in the morning, you set your intention to want to remember, and really know that there's going to be some really helpful information for you in doing this.
And you mentioned, this dream world that we can be in just seems
Yes.
so bizarre at times. Some of the things we dream about and
Mm-hmm.
how we can feel in those dreams and remember that feeling
Yeah.
when we wake up, and just the bizarreness of it all. Is that very normal? Is that part of what is the purpose of our dreams?
Mm-hmm. It's so interesting because dreams speak a symbolic language. And the way that I have, read about it during all the time that I've been studying dream work is it's kind of like if you could imagine the original language, which was pictures. It was the hieroglyphs on cave walls. And so, in order to communicate, it was pictures, because pictures also have this tendency to hit us on an emotional level that is unlike anything else. I'm sure that everybody watching and listening could identify a picture that they've seen or that they have, and immediately be they could feel the emotion related to that picture. And so the communication of information through image and through picture is really what we are working to understand when we're doing the dream work. So I'm not sure if that answers the question completely, but that's certainly a part of that.
Yeah. And so, for example, if you have a dream and it's very mixed, the kinds of maybe people you're in. What I sometimes find when I dream is that it feels like I'm somewhere, and as
Mm-hmm.
that dream is happening, it shifts.
Yeah.
So maybe you're in a room, but then it's shifted to a different room or a place outside, or someone else is then, and the dream is moving. It's not kind of a start and finish in the sense that a movie would be. And so
Mm-hmm.
things are changing, and so when you are recalling the dream, is it about trying to recall every part of it like that and say, oh, well, I was in this room and then I was in that room? Or is it trying to just recall what it is that comes most to you?
Right. Oh, well, in in the idea of working with building your dream recall, I always encourage people to write down every detail they can remember. So I don't leave anything out, because there's different pieces of information within the dream. So, your example of
Right.
having, a dream be going along, and then all of a sudden I'm from one room and now I'm someplace completely different. I still write all of that down, because it's still showing that when this happens, then this happens potentially. It still is a way to work with the imagery to show where we are, where we're going. Um, I mean, there's so much juicy information in following the way that the dreams move.
Right.
But one of the tips that I would suggest to anybody who has an interest in working with their dreams, and especially when you have that many different little pieces of dreams going on all in one dream, is write them down in the present tense. Because if you're telling me your dream, instead of saying, well, I was in this room and then I went from this room into this room, it changes if I say I am in this room, and maybe let's just pretend that this room is the living room, and I move from the living room into a stadium. So, I am in the living room, and now suddenly I'm in a stadium. And by keeping it in the present tense, we keep the dream more in the here and now, because I think we have a tendency to look at them as something that happened in the past, right? We just wake up and we're already thinking, okay, well, that's already past tense. But the reality is the dreams are living with us all day and each and
Mm.
every day. So I keep them very much alive by keeping the journaling in the present tense, because it also gives us a sense of it brings us into the here and now of the dream, and it can give us an aha or an understanding about the dream, just just by doing that one thing. Because if I were to say, I, I, I was, I always use this example. I dreamt that I was in a jail cell and it was in this dark cave and I was by myself. Nobody else was here and it was cold and dark and damp. If I change it into the present tense and I say, I am in a jail cell, I am in a dark, damp cave, I am all alone. And if I say it in that way, I can see, okay, is there a place in my life where I am feeling like I'm in a cold, dark, damp place all alone, or feeling caged in some area of my life? So the present tense piece is really helpful just in learning to change the way that we journal the dream. And the other piece of that is because dreams can have so many different sections, and you know this from your own dreaming, the first thing that I do is I do a bullet point at just kind of at the top of my dream journal of all of the sections, just like one word, maybe ocean, house, car, whatever, something that will remind me so that when I start writing down the dream, I can remember all the different pieces and segments of the dream, because dreams, as you know, can evaporate so quickly. I mean, I think it takes like 3 seconds to 5 seconds to lose a dream in the morning.
Oh,
So
wow.
if it's very quick, and so by doing that, it will spark our memory to, oh yeah, that's right. There was this part, because by not doing that, if I start writing down the dream, by the time I get to the end, I might have already forgotten half of the dream. So that's just something that I do that I have found really, really helpful and helps me keep track of, the sequence of the dream and the different pieces of the dream.
And what would you suggest if you have multiple dreams through the night? So I wake a lot in the night, and I definitely have lots of dreams. And actually, I'm quite good at remembering dreams. I tend to have this thing where dreams can really stick with me, and the feeling, something about the dream might last
Yeah.
right through that day, and sometimes even beyond the day. And I can recall a dream. I have dreams from many years ago that I can still recall certain ones. So if you have multiple dreams in the
Yeah.
night, would you, because that could be hours of journaling for me, I think, what would you suggest for that, to just pick the main themes and maybe focus on just some of those key words that come up?
That one's such a personal choice, Nicola. And the
Right.
reason is because, and the biggest challenge that I hear from people is, yeah, but Bambi, if I wake up in the middle of the night and I start writing down my dream, I'm awake and I can't fall back asleep. That is a reality, you know? So I, I think that if a person has a dream that feels really important in the middle of the night, it for me, I write it down. If I wake up,
Right.
I mean, right? There's an inner knowing that you get when something is important and it feels like it's going to need some attention. Um, and if you're the kind of person who can fall back asleep, great. If you're not, you could just write down a few words, and hope that you're going to remember the rest of the dream in the morning. You won't remember all the detail, but you'll still have some of the dream come back to you because you've made a little bit of notation without waking yourself all the way up.
Right.
Yeah.
And so then, obviously, your book is all about using dreams to transform your life, and we want to help people to tap into what those dreams might be able to
Mm.
help from a health and well-being perspective. So, how would
Yes.
you then use those dreams? Because there's potentially a lot of just cross lines. If you imagine it drawn out, you could say, well, I can't see any connection between any of this. So, what would
Right.
you
Right.
suggest? Like, what's the transformation that you can have?
um, I think when it comes to using dreams for transformation, again, the very first thing is start writing them down. And then the next piece of it is start looking for things that start showing up. Now, I don't mean a recurring dream. I would mean more like, is there a similar emotion that keeps showing up in a dream?
Right.
Is there is there an animal that keeps appearing in the dream, and you look for the state that the animal is in, or is it shifting or changing? You look at the people in the dreams, and you get to know your own imagery that way, so I think that part of it's an ongoing practice if you're going to use dreams actually for transformation. And it always helps, Nicola, to have a dream partner. Obviously I'm a dream coach. But even if you just have somebody else who you can just share the dreams with, they will ask you questions that will bring out information about the dream that you might not even think about. Because the piece about dream work that gets really fun is if we engage our curiosity in what's going on and what might this be here to share with me, then we start looking at this with a sense of more adventure, and it becomes more of a journey. Because our dreams are also, they accompany us in the waking life too, right? We've got these two lives going on at the same time. We probably have, they're both informing each other. So my dreams are going to comment on the day that I just had. And maybe I don't realize, for example, that something my boss said really hurt my feelings. And it might show up in my dream where somebody I used to know maybe is the person in the dream who says something that really hurts my feelings. And so you just start with these small bits and pieces of, okay, what happened in the last 24 to 48 hours that this dream could be reflecting back to me about how I experienced something or how I'm truly feeling about something. I think that dreams, they help us to be more authentic, Nicola, because they will point out when we are not in alignment with our personal core values. And they'll also point out when we are hitting on things on an intuitive and an instinctual level that we might otherwise in a regular day completely ignore and say, oh yeah, no, but that's the perfect job for me, or that's the perfect person for me. And yet the dreams say something very different. So you learn to start trusting the information that you're getting in dreams by just beginning, right? You start on the path of writing things down. And ask yourself as you're going through it, how does this dream relate to maybe something else that is going on in my current life? Or why is it that I woke up with this really icky feeling when I thought I was really excited about some opportunity, but maybe there's something so obvious that on a soulful level, I'm picking up on it. But in my waking life ego self, I'm not. I'm like, no, I don't want to see that,
It feels like it's almost mindfulness.
Yes, very much about mindfulness.
Yeah, but at the next level, it's like mindfulness
Yeah.
in our sleep state, isn't it? It's that, like you said, when we're mindful in the present, as you said, but we're still in our ego state at that point. And so we can, we are in our own head. And so it could be
Right.
quite easy to perceive something or feel something a certain way. And that's just because,
Yeah.
we have these beliefs and it's how we are and our habits and so on. But then there's this whole other level of activity that we know happens in the brain through the night, and perhaps those dreams are sharing that. And so it's about being mindful of that state of mind, isn't it? Which maybe for some people, maybe not for others, but it's a very interesting perspective to look at things from, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. And you're right. I mean, you have to want it,
Yeah.
but there are so many people who are on a personal growth and self-discovery path, and they want to understand themselves better. They want to understand how to handle things better, or access deeper information into who they are. And dream work to me is the fastest way to get to that place, because you just have this unlimited ability to tap into all kinds of information from there.
And how was it received? 'Cause I know you've done a lot of speaking on the topic as you've shared your book and the work that you do. How do people react to this when you talk about it this way?
Oh, it's funny because people actually get really excited about it because generally people don't think of it that way. They'll go into the idea that, oh yeah, it's just this crazy stuff that happens at night. It doesn't mean anything. But all it takes is one conversation with somebody. And this happens to me all the time, Nicola. They'll
Right.
say, oh, I don't remember my dreams, and we'll have a conversation, and I will get a phone call or an email the next day saying, oh my God, you're never going to believe what happened. I had this epic dream last night. Well, it's because we brought it into our conscious awareness, right? And so people get excited about that when they start seeing that there is actually a benefit, that there is something that can be kind of mined out of a dream, that is something that they can use to make their daily life better.
Yeah.
That's when that starts to really matter. It's like the woman with, the photography. When she had never written down one dream her entire life. And all it took was this 2-week commitment. Now she writes them down. Now she watches. Now she knows when she starts falling back into that pattern of feeling overwhelmed and not getting enough help, because her dreams start giving her all that same similar imagery or the same feelings. And she can immediately now stop that from happening and say, okay, hold on. I'm kind of falling into my pattern. Let me, set up the boundaries here again and make more time for myself and get some help. And I mean, that alone for us is a huge aha in our waking life if we can then use it as kind of this navigation of, oh, I'm a little bit off center, I got to, okay, let me get myself back on course.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's a really interesting way, as we started with, really talking about your journaling habit, that,
Mhm.
journaling is something so many people just think, oh yeah, I've got nothing to write about. I don't know what to say. And, we
Yeah.
know there's lots of benefits, and not just to journaling, but gratitude practice, whether you journal about gratitude or
Yes.
not. But I think there are a lot of people who struggle. But this is, I think, giving something really clear that you can journal about, that if you do remember dreams is a great starting point. If you're someone that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't, but you're thinking, actually, maybe I would like to try and intentionally remember what it
Right.
is I'm dreaming about. But I think it gives someone a starting point, because I have heard lots of people say, yeah, but I don't know where to start. And obviously you can have guided journals that prompt questions and so on. But this is something very individual, and I think it's quite exciting if you do dream to want to look into them more. I've certainly been thinking about my dreams every morning when I get up since we'd first met and spoke, to think,
Yes.
what's that telling me? What's that? And I'm definitely having,
Yeah.
not every night, but I do have regular dreams about a tiger and a lion.
Mm.
Very different, but yeah, there's things, and I've started already piecing things together. So I think I need to progress the habit
Ooh.
of journal about it. But that brings me nicely to wrapping up with 3 small steps that someone could take. I know you've given lots of tips, but how could you simplify some of that into 3 simple steps someone could
Mm.
take if they wanted to start tracking their dreams and working out what it might tell them to help their health improve?
Okay. Yes, absolutely. So 3 tips. Let's do it from the journaling perspective. If
Okay.
so, the first thing I would say is write down any associations that you have to the main images in the dream, right? This could be people, animals, places, a time of the year, a time of the day, whatever it is, an object. Write down your associations to that thing. The second thing is really tune into what were the emotions in the dream. What are my emotions in the dream? Because those give us a whole different ability to understand what the dream may be speaking to. Because if I know that in the dream I felt one way, and I can immediately associate that to something in my waking life, I've already made a lot of headway in understanding what the dream may be speaking to, right?
Yeah.
So emotions would be the second thing. Make sure you include the emotions in the dream. And the third thing for tracking, um, highlight anything that you start noticing that is like a track, a clue, a sign that pieces one part of a dream potentially to another one. And it could be anything. Like I use different color highlighter pens. Sometimes I'll use color pencils and circle things. I have a whole little simple process I do on a Word document where I keep track of things when they repeat. For me, I get numbers a lot, and so I'll make a note of what were all the different days that I had a dream with the number 3 in it. And I just start paying attention, because so much of this, like you said, it's about mindfulness. It's about bringing attention to what is in the dream, and then I can start figuring out what to do with it. But just the associations and the emotions and the tracking piece alone will really, really help people to start getting a sense of what the dreams are about.
Thank you so much for joining today. If you've enjoyed the podcast, please remember to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. It would be massively appreciated if you could leave a rating and review to help other women discover the podcast and build their own healthy, happy life. If you're struggling with the changes perimenopause is bringing your way and you're ready to reclaim your vitality, to embrace this new chapter of your life with confidence and joy, then why not download our free guide, 10 Ways to Feel Good Again, your perimenopausal revival guide. Inside, you'll get 10 proven ways to enhance your well-being and rediscover the joy of living life to the fullest. And we all want to live a great life, don't we? So download your free guide now at lifenowcoaching.uk/feel good again. The link is in the show notes. You can follow Life Now Coaching on Instagram and LinkedIn, and visit our website at lifenow.uk. All of the links are in the show description. I really hope you've enjoyed today's topic and conversation, and can't wait to have you back again next week for more tips on living healthy and happy right now. Take care.